Thursday. And today, what I'm going to talk about is accountability around our goals. And this is really kind of a piggyback off of last Thursday's training. So if you didn't see that, then go back and you can watch that. But even if you didn't, this is still going to be super beneficial for you. So last week, just to recap, what I talked about is setting our goals and having a lot of times we're going to set an annual goal for whether that may be revenue in our business, it may be a health goal, a relationship goal, whatever that may look like for you. And the challenge of it is that we want to make sure that we are tracking and measuring along the way, not just go, hey, by the end of the year, this is where I want it to be. Because if we don't have these benchmarks along the way, then we don't know, hey, are we ahead or are we behind? And so last week I talked about, hey, we're ending now the first quarter of 2024. Where are you at on your goals? And being realistic, are you ahead? Are you behind? Are you on pace? And by doing those check-ins, it makes a huge, huge difference. What I want to talk about today is around goals is the power of accountability when we are talking about our goals. Really, we can use accountability pretty much anything in our life and in our business. And here's the thing that comes up a lot that I see. And I used to think the same thing. It's like you start hearing the word accountability, you're like, the old saying is everybody wants accountability till they get it, right? Then nobody wants it. And what I want to do is have you to kind of reframe your thinking around accountability. And a lot of the times we come from a place of that it's punitive, like, oh, okay, if I don't do this, then this bad thing is going to happen. And what I want you to be thinking around accountability is more like a fuel that you can put on, especially like on your goals or anything that you're going to do it's going to help you get there. And I'm going to don't just take it from me. There have been tons of studies done around this. And so what I'm going to share with you today that was done in 2015, and it was at the Dominican University in California. And what they did was these researchers took 267 people, and basically what they did is they had a group of them write their goals down and then share those goals with a friend or with someone else. Okay. Then they took another group out of that. And basically this is what they did is they had some of the group just think about their goals. And then they had other part of that group that just wrote their goals down, but they didn't share them with anyone. So what did the study prove? Well, what happened was after they gathered all of this data and they looked at that, the group that wrote their goals down and shared those with someone else, they were 70% more of them hit those goals. So basically the ones that didn't either wrote them down and they didn't share them, or they just kind of thought about them and obviously they didn't share them. Only about 35% of them actually hit those goals. So what does that mean is basically by writing the goals down and sharing them with someone else doubles your chances of actually hitting those goals, which are actually pretty good numbers. So I would always love to have, always putting the odds in our favor. And you hear me talk about this all the time. And if you've been in my community, in my world, I'm huge on goal setting. And obviously also too in there is we have to have action items inside of having those goals as well. But writing those goals down, being specific, with those goals, being very clear, all of that, running that, which I always talk about using, the SMART formula of filtering our goals through, is then writing them down, hugely powerful. But that big piece of this is sharing those goals with others. Even if it's just one other person, it's putting it to social media. It's having, and then by having like an accountability, partner, obviously having a coach. I know the people that I coach in my one-on-one program there's a lot of, there's accountability, because as we have those conversations is that they're setting their goals and they share those with me. All I'm doing is just holding them capable of doing those goals. It doesn't affect me personally if that person doesn't hit their goals. The issue of it is just by them writing those down and sharing those with me, I've seen it across the board of how many of my clients actually hit those goals, because They're just by them. And it's not me calling them up every day and going, hey, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? The issue of it is having that piece of that accountability in your life is hugely, hugely powerful and change and game changing. And I know it was for me when years ago in my business, and it goes back a lot of years, is when we had, when I hired a coach and shared my goals with them. And it wasn't that they didn't create my goals for me. It was just like, hey, this is what I want to get done, this next week. We have a bigger goal, then I would break that down. And then just knowing on when I was going to be on that call with them is we would have, I knew we were going to have a conversation. It's like, hey, how did this week go? Hey, how did it go with the goals? Hey, I hit this one. This one I didn't hit. Hey, what got in the way of that? Well, it was because of whatever, right? I decided to go play golf instead of work on that, whatever that is. But what I know for me personally, how that changed, and also in others that I've seen, just by, again, writing it down. But if you really want to pour fuel on hitting your goals, is you've got to be sharing those with somebody else. Whether it doesn't matter, and that can be your spouse, it can be, I'm big on, obviously, my world is in the coaching world, is I'm big on, sharing those, having an accountability partner, right? Being in a community of people where you're like, hey, of sharing goals, and whether you're working with a coach or whatever that may look like, for you, where you are, in your journey, in your business. Because by just doing that one little thing, and this is just one study that as I was researching this, because I've seen a lot of different ones. And again, it just validates the point to where it's just like accountability is in everything that we do. And we can take that to our personal life, all of those things. If we just tell somebody, hey, this is what I'm going to say I'm going to do, I'm going to be there. It's like being accountable to, your business, of being, at an appointment on time. Because I've told someone, how many times, if you told someone you were going to be there and you scheduled an appointment, well, you wouldn't show up. Well, I hope no one watching this would do that, but it's that whole point. That's why we never say, hey, well, maybe I'll be there, I'll try, or all this. Those aren't powerful statements. That just tells your brain, is like, yeah, I'm really not committed. I'm not going to do that. And again, by writing those goals down and being super clear on like, hey, this is what I want it to be. And again, sharing that with someone else. And I could, again, go back to posting that just on social media. If you wanted to do that, it's like, hey, here's my goals today. People like going, oh, okay. Hey, how'd that work? Hey, what's going on? I know when I was working on writing my book, it was when I shared that, when I made the decision to do that, I shared it. And the reason I did that, I started sharing it with people, not to brag that I'm writing a book. It wasn't anything to do with that. It's just because writing, I just don't like doing it. And that's a story I've created for myself in it. Obviously, I've proven it differently, because obviously I have it. I wrote it, and it got published, and people have bought it and read it, and hopefully have found value, from that. But going back to the point is that I just put it out there. I just let people know. People would ask me, hey, what are you working on right now? Hey, I'm working on writing a book. Oh my God, really? Yeah. What's it about? Oh, hey, it's about helping people, business owners build a bit, and would share that with them. And people would reach out to me, like in my circle, inside of my world, and would be like, hey, my publisher did, because that helped me, write the book. But even having that, it's like having deadlines of like, hey, how's the book writing going? It's like, oh, it's going, hey, I'm working on it. This is where I'm at with it. And to be honest with you, because it took me almost over 30 years to write a book. And so that may not be the thing that you want to do, is to write a book. But what I want to, and I'm saying this not to impress you, but to impress upon you that this is the power of accountability, of being able to put that out there, and it's uncomfortable. I get it, because if you keep it to yourself, then no one knows. And if I don't hit the goal, hey, no one's going to know but me. I can write them here on my, I look here on my whiteboard, I write stuff on my window. And that's all great, because it keeps me accountable. But if it's like, if I really want to up the game on that, it's just like, that's why I share with my wife. This is what I'm working on. Coaches that I have in my life that are helping with certain things in my business, is like, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what I want to have done by next week. It works. I'm just telling you, 34 years of running and owning businesses and helping other people do the same thing, it works if we will do it, if we will step into sometimes the uncomfortableness of that. But that uncomfortableness is the thing that actually is what's going to drive us to be able to hit those goals. You see, because everything, what I believe in life is everything great is outside of my comfort zone. It just is. If I stay in this little box of comfort where it's like, I'm going to set these goals and everything's going to be okay and all of that. No, it's to steal from Jim Collins is that the enemy of great is good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Why do I want to change this? Why would I want to do, why would I want to do anything, different? Why would I want to share my goals with somebody? Because what happens if I don't hit them? Well, what happens if you do? What happens if you could double the chances of you hitting those goals just by writing them down and sharing them with someone else? Would not that be worth it? And so my challenge to you in today's training is to step into that. If last week when I had people inside, the one of my private Facebook groups is, sharing, people shared, they're like, hey, I'm behind on my goal. And they were honest about that. And some were like, hey, I'm ahead or what, and whatever they are, with that is you just look at that. And if they said, hey, I was behind, just by them having to type that out and putting it, I can almost guarantee you that would compel them. It's going to compel them to then kind of go, I put that out there that what do I need to do? And I ask a question. Hey, what do you need to do in order to make, to make that look different? Okay. Getting feedback, having that accountability piece of it. And so I know I'm driving this point home today. I've driven it home before. And it's the only reason I do that is because I just know how powerful it is in doing that. Because most of the great things that I've been able to, relatively great that I've accomplished, in my life and in my business is because I set a goal to do that. And I had someone holding me accountable for that piece of it. And so that's what I've got for you today in today's training on Thursday training is no matter where you're at, you're ahead, you're behind, you're on pace for your goal is if you want to double that, okay? And you may be, and most of you watching this, my guess would be is I'm going to say 90% of you probably are writing your goals down, right? Now, are they specific, measurable, attainable, time-based? Are they relevant? Right. All of that, running that through the smart format. Okay. If they're not specific, you got to get specific on it. But I know what there's probably, my guess is there's probably it's probably 20% of people watching this today are actually sharing those goals with someone else would be my guess. It's the 80-20 rule. So that would be it. So don't be in that 20%. Get in that 8. This is where you want to be in the 80%. Is where you want to be sharing those because, I want for you to hit your goals that you can create the business and the life that you want because it's definitely attainable. We just got to get uncomfortable sometimes in order to do that. So that's what I got for you today in today's training. I hope that is helpful. Let me know. Hey, are you sharing your goals with others? Are you part of something where you have some accountability and not just accountability to yourselves? If you really want it, make it simple. If you got kids, go tell them. They're like, hey kids, hey, if I do this X and I'm taking everybody to Disney, right? You want somebody that's going to hold you accountable. Kids will be in there every 5 minutes like, hey, Mom, Dad, hey, did you do this? Did you do the thing? Right? Because they're, why? Because they want to go to Disney or whatever that may be for you. I mean, and that's a simple way to look at it. But again, you just by telling those kids about that, more than likely, you're going to do it because you don't want to let your kids down. Right? It's not about letting others down. It's not, don't let yourself down. Don't sell yourself short on the things that you're capable of doing. Because I believe it. I believe it's possible. I know it because of where I came from and to where, I've been able to get to, in my life. It's doable. If I can do it, hey, if I can write a book, nothing's impossible for pretty much anybody else on that. And don't be like me. Don't take 30 plus years to write it if that's something that you want to do. So, hey, thank you for being part of my community, letting me to share, hopefully, a little bit of wisdom and some knowledge that you can take, right? It's not the knowledge or wisdom, it's putting it into action, right? We can read all the books, right? If we don't do anything with any of that, it doesn't really matter. So, hey, have a great week, everybody. And I will see everybody back here next Thursday. Bye-bye now.